Mohammed Hijab talks about fresh and fit. Okay, let's see that clip. Okay, watch it.
But anyway, since you have been really active on social media during Ramadan too, which it's not easy. You just came back from that debate with Fresh and Fit, and I got to say that was very entertaining. I'm not going to lie. And I was asking about the love speech community before the stream, like what's some questions. There was one question from a sister. She said, "Did Paul meet Muhammad?"
Yeah,
Peace be upon him.
what's that got to do with it? I don't know what it was. Look, the brother Fresh and Myron, I think that they are essentially good guys.
Very good guys, yeah.
I think they're good
Well, some of
guys.
my best friends.
I think that these guys have. I don't even think that they were trying to. I didn't go hard on them. I didn't try to attack them or hurt them or debate them, because I feel like they're coming from a place where they want to improve men. They're seeing the problem. The problem where men are being emasculated. They've been harmed by certain ideologies related to feminism. The main thing I would say about Red Pill community is that they've gone into overcorrect mode. And sometimes an overcorrect is required, actually. Because when a pendulum swings too much this way,
It goes the other way.
it goes that way. And they are the manifestation of the pendulum swinging the other way.
The other way, yeah.
Yeah. If you keep telling me about feminism and you don't require evidence to prove a man is raping another woman, and you don't need this, and the woman is not, and the man is not respected, and this and this and that and that. Okay, that's got to simmer in the minds of men in the West and in the East and everywhere else in the world. And it's become resentment, and it's going to become, you know what? We're going to start using women in this way and do this, and we're going to act like that. And we understand these methods now of these women, these entitlement women, these modern women. And there's a lot of truth in this. I cannot lie. There is so much truth that I agree with from the whole movement. The reason why I brought up some issues of high-value men and this and that was only because I was thinking about the matter in a more logical and, I would say, academic manner, frankly. And I just wanted to share my ideas on that. But there are so many things that they've got right. There are many things that they got wrong. And there are so many things they got right. They got so much more right than the feminists. There's no doubt about that. It's not
Right.
I mean, there's no comparison between them and the feminists. I don't allow it. But everyone gets things wrong, because it's not, unless you're getting it from God,
There's going to be false.
there's going to be faulty things, and we have to address those things.
Like Stoicism, it's adopting a lot of the traits of Islam without searching for a higher purpose. So you're doing things for the sake of doing them, but rather than to get into heaven. So yeah, it is barely necessary, and I've seen they're getting a lot of backlash right now. I think more than I've seen, especially from the conservatives, the religious people. I think as more people are starting to embrace Islam and are getting fed up with that, I think a lot of people disagree with Myron's 50 bodies idea, saying that a man needs to sleep with 50 women to understand them. I think a lot of people are disagreeing with that. That's something I gotta publicly disagree with him quite a bit.
I'm literally disagree with him, bro, because it will destroy the society.
Too. I understand why he thinks that, but now I'm seeing them get more backlash than ever, and they are doing a lot of good. I think that of any men's podcast, they've saved more lives than any other podcast, and they deserve more respect, and so I think we should stand by our brothers.
I think we should help the brothers and not push them away, because I think that these brothers have a lot of potential. And my approach with
Pray for them. Allah will guide them, okay?
people like Myron and people are Fresh and other people who I think really, either secretly or openly, I haven't seen much of their content to know, actually agree with you a lot of the Islamic principles. They agree with it.
They do.
Especially when it comes to gender issues. I think we shouldn't be too harsh on them, because the Islamic spirit with these things, and people even till this day, they criticize me on my public support for Andrew Tate, for my help with him. But I've said the same thing, and I'll say it again. Even if a feminist becomes a Muslim and she has a background like this,
You'll welcome her.
I'll welcome her and I will help her, even if it takes years. And I believe that's what Islam is about. Because, for example, one of the recipients of zakat is al-mu'allafati qulubuhum. It's mentioned in Surah Al-Tawbah, chapter 9, verse of the Quran, which is, there are 8 recipients of zakat. One of them is people who are not Muslim yet, but they are people who,
The hearts are there.
yeah, their hearts are effectively there. Their hearts can be softened by Islam. You give them gifts, you treat them nicely. The idea is, in Islam, people that are close to Islam, don't push them away, bring them closer. Even if you have to play the long game, bring them closer. And I believe, looking at the way of the seerah of the Prophet, that's how he done it. So we shouldn't be too harsh with people like Myron. Yes, there are some things about how he didn't defend the Prophet and so on. He must be spoken about. Okay, fine.
Yes.
But don't push him too much, because he could be a great person who, like yourself or like Andrew Tate or like anybody else, comes into Islam and brings so many people with him to Islam. And he's already a Muslim, actually, Myron. But I'm saying becomes more religious, for example. So I don't think we should be pushing these people away. I really don't think so. And I think that we can tweak. Everyone deserves to be criticized. We've been criticized, and
we are right now.
Yeah, we are criticized, and it's good for us. I believe criticism is good.
It hardens you and it makes you shave the edges off and make sure that you get to the true.
Otherwise, you'd be a narcissist. You're gonna think. I mean, imagine receiving all praise and no criticism. What kind of a person would you be, bro? What kind of a person would I be? We'd be a narcissist. Criticism saves us, bro. It saves us from delusion. It gives us good deeds, because when people criticize us, and it's wrong, for example, then we're beneficiaries of that on the Day of Judgment. It makes us stronger, and so everyone needs to be criticized, including Myron, and he needs to be able to accept criticism as well, of course, because I've seen some recent video of him on Twitter, shouting at, defending Fresh, I think it was, and that was...
That's brotherhood, that's loyalty.
It's loyalty, it's brotherhood, it's all very well and good, but then, I've also had moments where, I regret and maybe I went too emotional, stuff like that.
They're good clips.
They're great clips, but then it can be used against you, because then someone's going to say, why weren't you like that when it came to the Prophet? Why weren't you like that when it came to this and that?
That's true.
And then you're going to have to start firefighting again, right? Yeah. So what you decide to be emotional about is something which will be held against you,
Especially as a
man.
man.
I mean, as I say, I think that we shouldn't be too harsh on them, and they're your friends, and I think we can bring them closer. And one day, inshallah, we'll bring them here.
Inshallah.
And let them taste what we're tasting and enjoy what we're enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell that from my point of view, I could tell that the stress of it's a stressful world, the content space, especially when you're speaking up for these issues. Getting the amount of attacks that they get, like they got demonetized. They speak about Zionism, so they're getting attacks from all these angles, and it's like the stress from the world from all those attacks is like really starting to. So I want to see them find some more peace. But what was your perception of that Fresh debate, especially with Christianity? It's basically that specific debate. Wasn't with you and Fresh, but with Sheikh Uthman in the past. That was what helped bring me to Islam. That debate about the Trinity and how three can be one. It's just something that I grew up believing as a Catholic, but it never made sense and it was never explained properly. So having a Muslim debate and just literally thinking, how can three be one?
Yeah.
It literally does not make any sense. And then
think about that. How three can be one? Okay, but only one God is Allah.
There was a funny argument. I watched it back. I think his argument was, who created math?
Yeah.
And is because he was trying to say man technically created the figures to draw numbers, but the idea of math as a science, it's objective. Without man did not create that. It just is. So that it was interesting.
To still man his position at the highest level. Look, I think he was basically saying, can God make the impossible possible, right? Because, for example, 2 + 2 = 4. Can 2 + 2 = 3 or 5? No, it's impossible. But can God do that? And what we're saying is that, I think he said it himself, and I said,
Allah can do anything, but everything has a statement. It can see, right?
Can God create a rock so heavy that he can't lift? And he said the question doesn't make sense. So I was trying to make him understand, what do you mean by the question doesn't make sense? Because the idea of a rock so heavy that God can't lift is unintelligible. It doesn't make sense. It's an impossibility. So it doesn't exist.
And so he's trying to say that means God's limited. But in fact, the fact that God, I think he was trying to say, can God die? And you're like, no, God can't die, so God's limited. Well, in fact, the fact that God can't die makes him more unlimited.
Yeah.
Right? That's a limit. Death is a limitation.
The thing is, in logic, there's a whole category of things called impossibilities. Yeah? Like, for example, a squared circle. A squared circle cannot exist in the real world. You can't even think about it. I mean, it's not something which exists. They're two opposite things. And they fulfill the criterion for contradiction. Yeah? Now, because they don't exist, we cannot speak about anyone creating them because they don't exist. It's an impossible entity. It doesn't exist and it can't exist. So the idea of 2 plus 2 equals 5, it's not just that it doesn't exist. It can't exist. And God, the idea of God, can God make 2 plus 2 equals 5, is equivalent to can God make a rock so heavy that it can't lift? It's equivalent to can God cease to exist? Can God kill himself? Let's go further. Can God lie? Can God rape? Can God steal? We would say these are all impossibilities. It doesn't make sense. For example, on the idea of God, can God steal? How can God steal anything when he owns everything? The idea makes nothing.
So it's not limitations, it's just not, it's an impossibility.
These are impossibilities, yeah. These are impossibilities.
Good statement, bro.
So I understand look, someone can attack him and say, look, he's so low IQ, he doesn't understand that mathematics is something which was discovered rather than, but I think I know what he was trying to say. And it's not such a low IQ statement. He's trying to say, well, maybe God can make the impossible possible. But we're saying that if you let that happen, I mean, Aristotle, for example, Aristotle was a very famous logician before Christ. He wrote a book called The Metaphysics. And in that book, he said that basically, if you don't have the law of non-contradiction, anything can happen. We cannot even have a discussion. Like, for example, the statement that he said, which is that, can God make 2 plus 2 equals 5, whatever it may be, or God can do it, for God is possible. That statement itself is susceptible to self-refutation because there's no requirement for it to be coherent in a world where it's possible for contradictions to exist. So it's a self-refuting point. So the moment you get rid of the law of non-contradiction, you can't even have a discussion with anybody about anything because truth doesn't need to be coherent. If it's in any possible world the case that truth doesn't need to be coherent and the law of non-contradiction can apply, or 2 plus 2 equals 5, or whatever other impossible thing can happen, then there's no more a requirement for us to be coherent or cogent or make proper sense. Nonsense is as good as common sense in that paradigm. But that is the kind of thing Christians have to resort to in order to make sense of the Trinity. But as I say, I think Fresh, if you just opens his heart to Islam, he might become Muslim as well. I don't know if he's a huge figure in the social media world.
He is.
Is he?
Yeah, he's very big.
So he would be a great person for us to have as well. Young people follow him and stuff like that. He's a fantastic guy.
Do we have some more questions? Some of them are silly.
So pray for them because they are doing great job, but not all the best. All the best to all of you. For our Eid, bro, and Fresh and Fit, they're doing good work for society, but I think that's not working at all, because in Islamic culture it's different. If you are obey to Allah, then you will be find more peace, more beautiful life. Okay, that's it. So come to Islam. I can invite everyone. Oh.